Welcome to another edition of Rogues Gallery, where we count down the best of the worst villains according to your votes. This week we're looking at the aquatic enemies of the King of the Sea, Aquaman. Just missing out on the top 10 this week are Marine Marauder, Siren, and the Thirst. Let's start the countdown. Number 10, Cortex. Cortex was cast out as a child due to his grotesque appearance and unnatural blonde hair, but survived in the harsh ocean due to his ability to control sea life. He was rescued by his father and raised to hate Atlanteans, later returning to lead an unsuccessful invasion with his marine army. Number 9, Scavenger. Peter Mortimer was an explorer obsessed by an item known as the Time Decelerator, and poisoned the waters of Atlantis in an effort to force Aquaman to find it for him. After finding and using the device, it aged him backwards to non-existence, but he later returned as a Hawkman villain, now calling himself Barracuda. Number 8, Thanatos. Thanatos was an Aquaman doppelganger from a dimension known as the Nethersphere, who attempted to kill and replace the original. He almost succeeded in his task, but was killed by the villain Major Disaster, who mistook him for the real Aquaman. Number 7, the Dead King. Atlan was the first king of Atlantis, betrayed by his brother and the one responsible for the sinking of the great nation. He awoke centuries later and attempted to reclaim his role as king of Atlantis from Aquaman, but when he tried to wield the scepter of Atlantis, it recognized Aquaman as the true king and Atlan melted into the ground. Number 6, Rick Dees. Rick Dees used his meta-human powers to remove Aquaman's control over marine life, and then forced the hero's hand into a piranha pool where the fish devoured it. After using a machine to duplicate Aquaman's own powers, he took the name Piranha Man and joined the secret society of supervillains. Number 5, Treyton. Treyton was the son of Poseidon, god of the ocean, and became jealous that the people of Atlantis revered their king more than himself, and so he challenged Aquaman to a duel. Although Aquaman won the fight, Treyton's father appeared to collect his son's soul and struck Aquaman blind so as not to see the death of a god. Number 4, the Trench. The Trench came from deep within the darkest parts of the ocean with an overwhelming need to feed, an urge that overrides all other impulses. Aquaman and Mera fought them in their own territory, and Aquaman killed their king, trapping them back in the crevasse which spawned them. Number 3, the Fisherman. The Fisherman was an international thief and mercenary who stole valuable items to sell to the highest bidder. He uses fishing-related weapons such as specially designed lures and razor-sharp hooks to fight his enemies, and in his first clash with Aquaman, he used an experimental formula to turn them both into giants. It was later revealed that the Fisherman's hood is an alien parasite which attaches itself to an unwitting host, turning them into the new Fisherman. In fact, there have been multiple Fishermen throughout the years, all under the control of the Lovecraftian horror which rests on their head. Number 2, Ocean Master. Originally, Orm was the youngest son of Aquaman's father and was jealous of his half-brother's Atlantean heritage and superpowers. He resurfaced years later as the pirate known as Ocean Master, eventually deciding his ultimate goal was to usurp the throne of Atlantis from his brother. Orm was later reimagined to instead be Aquaman's Atlantean brother, proud of his heritage and jealous that his older brother was king, although not a pure Atlantean. Although he stepped aside for the true heir to the throne, he secretly led an attack on the surface world in Aquaman's name, and was imprisoned in the supervillain prison of Bel Rev. And number 1, Black Manta. Originally, Black Manta blamed Aquaman for not rescuing him from his kidnappers and grew up to be his worst enemy. He arranged a calculated strike on Atlantis and made Aquaman and Aqualad fight each other while Aquaman's infant son, Arthur Jr., slowly suffocated. Although they managed to break free, they were too late and the child had died. In his most recent incarnation, Black Manta's identity is still unknown, and before he became Aquaman's arch-nemesis, he was an explorer and treasure hunter who became obsessed with proving Aquaman's existence. His search led him to accidentally killing Aquaman's father, and seeking vengeance, the young Arthur Curry killed Black Manta's own father in a case of mistaken identity. Sworn enemies from then on, Black Manta dedicated himself to killing Aquaman and began a search for the one remaining hidden relic of the dead king, killing one of Aquaman's allies in the process. When the hero finally caught up with Manta, he stayed his hand and refused to give him the death he sought, instead choosing to let him live knowing his enemy spared his life. That's it for this week's countdown. Make sure to keep an eye on ComicsAlliance.com for your chance to vote in the current polls.